Hello, hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. How you doing?
Good.
Good, good, good.
Very excited for my second coaching session.
Nice. How's StarCraft been going for you since last time?
Oh, pretty good. I'm in Diamond 3 now, actually.
Really? The last time was
Yeah.
gold, correct?
Yep, gold one.
Yeah. So you're from gold to diamond. Damn, that's a massive gains right there. Super improvement. That's awesome. So yeah, I mean, Diamond League, you made it. That's like the pinnacle of what most people actually hope for in this game, I would say. So now the world opens up to a whole new spectrum spectrum of things that you can do, and yeah, that's gonna be lots to talk about. What kind of do you have a matchup today you're thinking about focusing on, or like any weakest matchup or anything like that?
Um, Not particularly. I have a replay.
Okay.
Um, it's of just the B2GM build. I wasn't really sure what to show you because I was learning builds from your Diamond 3 videos.
Okay.
So I haven't quite mastered them yet. I'd say they're okay.
Sure.
I don't feel confident enough playing them in ranked games.
No worries.
So I just have a replay of the B2GM build.
Okay. We can take a look at that and check out what's going on there. But yeah,
Okay.
that's super cool. I'm kind of be impressed. I think it's awesome that you're already in diamond. All right. So, are you online right now on BattleNet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you in the? I see you already. Okay, cool. You're already ready. All right. So I'll make you party leader, and then you can just host it up, and then make me lobby host before we start.
Okay.
Okay. And let's talk about this Zerg versus Protoss situation.
Mhm.
Um, and then I guess I'll see it in a moment here. But if you could uh, give me a minor breakdown or insight as to what build you're. Is this like a Stargate build or is this a Council build?
Oh, yeah. This is just the macro B2GM.
It's continuation from like what we were doing in Platinum.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. All right,
It's just what I would normally do, I guess.
sure,
It's not something like Proxy Immortal All In or something.
sure. Makes sense. So I'll just throw it out there and say, I know you were saying you're working on the diamond builds. Uh, Definitely keep doing that. Keep working on diamond builds. We'll take a look at what's going on here for you throughout this game. But and I'm imagining it's going to be a lot of good stuff because if you're able to make it a diamond doing it, that's kind of a quota there. But it kind of stops working in diamond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've played about 5 games, and I have realized that it's not working as well as it did.
Yeah, like people just have way too many other like tricks up their sleeve in diamond, so
Yeah,
like it becomes really hard to make it work if you're just like, I'll A move you this way
definitely.
and A move you that way. I'm dead now.
Works with a few diamonds, but
Yeah,
definitely not all.
for sure. All right, so we'll see how you're doing on this particular game here. Um, so far so good. Good probing. Gateway. The only thing I'd say that so far, your Nexus is great, but your pylon and gateway are maybe a little too close together. And the reason why I would say that is because the only way that you can now properly place a core is if you have it connected to the pylon. Like,
Ah, I see.
yeah. So like if you put the pylon back just a little bit more, like tuck it back
Hmm.
so it's not going to be so exposed. Because right now against Zerg, the reason why it's kind of scary if to put the pylon up so far like this is because if let's just say hypothetically you got baneling busted, if the stalker or whatever unit you have in the doorway is standing next to the pylon because it kind of has to, the pylon could die while your unit absorbs the banes, and
Yeah.
also roaches could just kill it super easy because it's super close to the wall. So the further back you put it, the easier it is to like punish the Zerg while he tries to all in you. Other than that though, super good. Okay, let's take a look at your scouting. So, if I had to, I'll ask you a question, okay? This is kind of a judgment call, and I'll break things down. But if I were to ask you, in a scale of like 1 to 5, 5 being really confident, 1 being your things don't really make sense, how confident do you feel in your scouting?
I would say 3,
Okay.
3.5, something around
Okay.
there.
So, I'll ask you some questions with what is going on here in a second, and then we'll, we'll see where we're at, and then that's good though. I mean, it's definitely something you should. Diamond League, I would say, is really heavy on scouting. It changes the course of the game pretty hard. So first things first, right now, what do you feel like if we're looking at your perspective in this game right now? What do you feel like are the options that Zerg has so far already, right now?
Well, I would just say this is pretty standard.
Sure.
This time that they got the hatchery.
Correct.
I think I would have to see the pool, because if it's at like this, I'd say not late, but this timing of a pool, I wouldn't feel too threatened. I would just do what I plan to do.
Sure. No, I mean, I agree with that. This is definitely not something to freak out about. It looks very standard. And one of the biggest, easiest ways to see it is if the hatchery is standard, it should be finishing around 2 minutes. And the fact that it's already started with your scout means that it's a hatchery first. So, like if you're doing your gateway scout like you did. So it looks really normal. And then I would, like you just said, seeing the pool and seeing the gas, you can tell a future investment of what the Zerg is going to do. So if we go into the Zerg's base now and you see a pool there, which is fine. And then now you see...
That's one thing though with my scouting. I have problems like interpreting what the gas means. Like if they have no gas, if they have 2 on the gas, if they're just building the gas. Like with all races, I don't really understand how to scout the gas really.
Gas,
it doesn't mean anything to me.
Okay, so there's a couple ways to talk about it that's really important that you'll need to know going forward, like just in general. And there's 2 ways to look at someone's base when you scout them, and one is to say what they have, and that is relevant to know. Oh, you have this. Like let's say the Zerg already had double gas, or the Zerg had 1 gas or no gas. Like it's relevant to know if they have gas at all. But the bigger thing that's even more relevant than just knowing if they do or don't have gas, or how many of them that they have, is the order of what they built first. So if for instance, if a Zerg player took a gas before he even expanded, that would definitely delay the expansion, so it wouldn't have looked like it did when you crossed the expansion the first time. It would have probably like have just been starting.
Yeah, that's the thing. I understand what's like abnormal and what's normal.
Sure, that's good.
For like taking the gas, but I don't know what that necessarily means.
Sure. Okay, so
what they're doing.
So just in general, the more gas they take before they expand, the more likely they're going to be very aggressive. And that's important to know that. So like you want to know if they took it before or after they expanded. Same thing applies to Terran and Protoss. Now, with Zerg specifically, talking about them alone, I would say it's really important for you to... Your probe kind of like missed the scout of the top gas. You did see the bottom one. You can still see it right now, even barely, with your probe's vision, because you can still click it. But the top one is not clickable. It's important to know if the Zerg is going to take a gas before or after the pool. Because if the Zerg takes a gas before the pool, you should be more threatened by speedlings. And if a Zerg is going to take a gas after the pool, you shouldn't feel threatened very much by speedlings. So if you're going to do like a B2GM style, for instance, you probably really want to prioritize getting that shield battery up and running like early if they go for gas before pool. Because the 2 reasons would be, number 1, they could get a really early speedling timing now. Even though they're going for an expansion, they might just use it for like larva, and they're going to make a bunch of lings to attack you. Another reason is because if your probe isn't in the base still, and say the Zerg decides, you know what, I'm not going to stop mining gas after 100, and I'm going to make a main nest, or I'm going to make a roach horn, and I'm really going to go all in. They could do that too. So you should feel more threatened by a Zerg who takes a gas before a pool, because it has more potential to attack you. But a Zerg who takes a gas after a pool, it really is just probably like a faster third base, essentially, like more macro focused. So if you would have saw no gas right now, that's a huge deal, because that means the Zerg is not taking a gas, and the pool is already like 15-20% of the way done already. So that is like I would say chances are very high there's a fast third coming out of the Zerg. Okay, you go back and scout. Okay, that's perfect. I actually was worried that you're gonna go home now. The fact that you turned around and scouted, that's really, really, really good. So now you confirmed. Now the pool is like literally 20% of the way done, and you confirmed no gas. So this is huge info for you right now. And look at that drone. That drone right now, I don't know what the hell he's doing, but for a second I was like, that might be going to a third base. And he's actually making an Evo, which is interesting. But I don't mind it. I don't mind that you go home with your probe. So I'll throw it out there and say this, okay? This is something that I don't expect you to do right now at all. But if you wanted to, you could start practicing it because this is something you should do in Masters League, okay? If you when you get to Masters League. If you leave the probe in the Zerg's base, you could be really annoying with it. So what that means is you know how I don't know if you've ever seen a Protoss do this, but do you know how when a Protoss runs in a Zerg's mineral line and they go behind it and they just start tapping the mineral line and they stop command their probe so the drones keep getting disoriented? If you
I don't think I've ever seen that. No.
Okay, so I'll just give you an idea of what that looks like. So if you mine a mineral patch, it takes about one full, like maybe like 1 to 1.5 seconds to like have the worker touch it, and like it mines it, and then finally it brings the minerals in its hand, and then it turns it into the nexus. Now, if you start mining a mineral patch, you can actually stop command your probe, and then you can like before you collect the minerals, but you can do it to the when the drone arrives at the patch, you can start mining from it, and then you can make the drone turn around and go somewhere else.
Ah, I see.
So what you can do is you can disrupt all of the close patches of the Zerg, and if the Zerg is not dedicated enough to fix it repeatedly, you can really disrupt their mining pretty hard for a while and make their opener a lot weaker, and it's super annoying. And then what it really does too, it's not just because it's like, oh well, you just need to disrupt the minerals. It's something you can do while you macro because there's really nothing else to do right now. But what it really is doing is you keep your probe in their base doing something while you're waiting to find out if they remain on gas after 100. Because if they do, that is very threatening. So Masters League Protosses, like 9 times out of 10, if they're not going to open Stargate, they always look for gas after 100. It's only the Protosses who go for a Stargate opener. They sometimes don't care because Stargate is really good. It's like extremely good at defending all ends. So that would be a good thing to keep in mind. So for future games, if you're going to go for a Robo, which is B2GM, right? Robo or Council, definitely want to keep the probe in their base longer to find out when their gas is going to, what it's going to happen with it, essentially.
Okay.
Yep. And to be fair, the way you built your wall, good. Like, that is for the fact that the pylon is that close, you actually fixed it. Like it's not. It could be better, but it's better than what I thought it was gonna be. Like I thought you were gonna leave the gap where the gateway and the pylon are.
Oh yeah.
And then you're gonna build south of the pylon. So the fact that you actually built the core there is way better because now you don't have an exposed pylon, for the banelings at least. But you're still kind of scary against roaches, but against banes, you fixed the problem. So, better than what I thought. So yeah, but yeah, you get the point though. All right. Things are going well. Got your main base already fully saturated. This is nice. Your Stalker is being chrono boosted. Everything looks good. And then another thing to look for too, if just this kind of falls into. I just want to touch this one more time before we really move on from it. Kind of like how I talked about how you can leave your probe in the base if they take a gas. If the Zerg does not take a gas, like kind of like what this guy did, where you're like, okay, the pool's like a third of the way done or like a fourth of the way done, and you still haven't started a gas yet, you should totally go check for the third bases. Like go check. The reason why, here, this is the big reason why. If you don't see a third base from Zerg, okay? If the Zerg is literally gasless and you also do not see a third base, 100% you should check your thirds after that if there's still no gas and no third, because that is a very from a master plus mindset, there's a very high chance that you're going to be getting proxy hatched and spine crawler all in or something like that, because you're like, okay, well, if you're not taking a gas and you're also not taking a third and you're not spending your money, what is happening right now? Because a Zerg can 100% super easy afford a third base with it if they don't take gas. So proxy hatch would be very likely. But obviously this guy now is double gassing, so that's like, yeah, he's going crazy on the double evo situation here. But yeah. Anyways. If you don't see a gas though, okay, now the wall is a little messed up. We'll talk about that in a second. But So checking for the third if no gas is huge, and then if you do check for the third, immediately find out where it is, and then go back and check the gas. And then obviously if the guy has a gas, stay there and check the gas continuously until you see what they're going to do with it. Because if you were still there, like look at the Zerg for instance, the Zerg has no Zerglings, or he actually just made 2. But if you go back for a second here before the pool's done, the Zerg does take their gas, and right now there is no potential of Zergling here. So you could see all of this stuff in his base right now, and now that the pool's done, as soon as eggs start after the pool's done, now you should probably leave his base. So this would be the time to leave, when you're like, okay, well now if I stay with the probe still, it's just gonna die. So I might as well leave and not lose my probe. But imagine if you like left his base right now, you'd be like, oh, okay, double Evo. Okay, wow, that's a lot of info right there. Double upgrade Zerg player here with no layer tech or anything like that. And it's also gonna be like no Zergling speed for a long time probably.
Yeah.
All right, so going back to your build now, looking at the wall in here, we'll speed back up to that. So what I was kind of what I was thinking you were gonna do for a second is I thought you were gonna gap the next building you were gonna make with the core and leave like a vertical wall between the core and that building. You know what I mean? But you actually
you sort of messed it up with the robo.
Yeah, because now what happens is right here, the way the robo got placed, it's once again vulnerable to banelings, because if your stalker is properly blocking this door, there we go. If your stalker properly blocks that door, banelings could just waddle right into that pylon and just blow it all up, and then you would just die. Because a pylon is about as effective as like a piece of paper is against a fire, like against banelings, if that makes sense. Like it just disappears.
Yes.
It's not good. So you definitely want to make sure you have that tucked away and it's not going to die. All right. All right, and then you get your sentry coming out, super good. The hallucination will be really, really, really good. And then you got your next stalker coming. And your probing is your build, your overall macro is definitely looking pretty nice. You're not really missing probes at all. This is super good. I feel like
I think go
ahead.
I overdid it a lot with the probes on this one. I actually went to 90, which was a total mistake.
Sure. I mean, honestly, more probes is better than less probes. If you have a problem, it's always better to have more. Because you can always throw some of them away too. Like if you're like, oh my god, I made too many, you can always just sack them. But yeah, I remember, I do remember the last time we coached on your, you were like what do I want to, the #1 pupil of Gold League. I was like, damn, you're clean here in Gold. And you're doing really good again with your macro, so it's looking really solid. So there's not really too much to comment on that. It's really, I feel like the biggest thing you're gonna have to work on, okay, so let me actually explain a new concept that is something that everybody learns in Diamond League, okay? So getting to Diamond is all about learning how to macro in the first place. But I feel like you already do that really well. So you're already like ahead of the curve pretty hard in that department. But now the next step on top of that is going to be maintaining that macro that you can do when you're just doing it by itself, but now maintaining it with multitasking. And that multitasking will be scouting and harassing and all this other stuff. So that's definitely harder. And you want to really make sure your macro overall is something that you can kind of do in your subconscious. Like it's something that's just like automated for you because you do it so well, so much. So really just don't beat yourself up if you have these bad games of macro, because it definitely is like a whole other level of like skill required if you kind of slip here and there. All right, so we'll see your scout go out. I'm gonna speed up actually to your hallucination. There we go. Okay, so I just want to make sure you're doing it, and you do. I would say a tiny bit late on the scout, but it's not that huge. You still do it relatively early. It's still like you're still doing it before you're gonna get attacked. So really clean still overall. If you did it like after you're already getting hit by something at like let's say like 6 minutes, I'd be like, okay, let's maybe a little late here, but it's still pretty good right now. Let's see what it scouts. Your scout pattern, I'm gonna say right now, a little interesting. The only reason why is because nothing has really tipped. I mean, maybe you're looking for a proxy hatch, honestly, because you didn't see the gas. Maybe that is what you're doing. And if that was your reasoning there, of how you just decided to scout that, I would say you're not wrong to look for that. But that comes down to the fact that what we just talked about earlier, you need to stay in the guy's base for a little longer if you're going to go robo to really know what they're going to do with their gas. But if it wasn't to scout a proxy hatch, I would say this was not necessary. And what you'd want to do instead is you'd want to get your you'd want your Phoenix to go directly to like the third of Zerg and then go directly from that third to the other potential third. So you can either go to the base above the main and then down to the one at the 6 o'clock position, or you can start at the 6 o'clock position and then go to the base above the main. And then you, from whatever side you go, if you go to the 6 o'clock second, you would then sweep it into the natural and the main. If you go to the base above the main second, you would then sweep it into the main and then into the natural. So you just, whatever side of the base you're on that's closer to where you are, you just go in from there. And the reason why you want to get there like ASAP is, this is really important. You want to check mineral lines. You want to check the Zerg count, or the drone count of the Zerg, because that tells you so much information about aggression or not. So like when
I didn't actually realize it when I was scouting, but this person actually does have a lot of gas, I feel like.
Yeah, oh, they definitely do, because
Like,
he
they
double
are mining
gassed.
from double gas from their natural, which is pretty unusual, I think.
100%. So like right now, automatically, if I was, let's actually back it up right as your Phoenix enters the base, and I'm gonna slow it down to normal game speed here. So this is real game speed, and then as you fly in, now it's hard to tell sometimes, but do you feel confident about being able to look at a spawning pool and being able to look at an Evo chamber and tell if they're being researched or not by the building animation?
I think so, yes.
Sorry, I had to sneeze. I was not silent. I have really bad allergies.
No problem.
But okay, so that's good. So that's something that you really I would say for every building that has a potential upgrade that can be done inside of it, get familiar with what the buildings look like when they are and when they aren't upgrading something. And I would just say that's something that will come over time. Just commit that to memory, though. Like this game, I would say if you played this game and then when the game is over, go back to the replay and then watch and be like, what does it look like when it, like, you know, was it upgrading when I was here? And then if it was, be like, okay, cool. Now, what does it look like when it's not? Just make sure you know the difference, because it's so important to know that. Now, this one's a bit more obvious because it's really invested, because it's double Evo. So you know that this guy is probably not faking a double Evo. But sometimes people build like one Evo and then they don't really do much with it, or they'll like maybe get one upgrade and stop altogether. But already, this is a huge investment, okay? So what this would tell me, this is the best way to explain what this means. There is a limitation to what anybody can do in StarCraft with their gas. Now, if your opponent doesn't have a third base, so this is why also I would say scouting the third is really important, right? Because if you actually saw there was no third, that's a limitation right there. Because there's less economy available to what the Zerg can do. So if you're like, okay, the Zerg is now double Evoing me, and has a layer, and I think that layer actually literally like just finished as you arrived. Let's see. I'm gonna just go back one more time. Yeah, like okay, so that was really hard to see from your perspective, but it looked like that thing literally just finished. So if you like, the reason why I would say that is because if you look at your vision, like I'm looking at your perspective essentially. I'm looking at your vision, but not your perspective is the best way to explain that. I'm just looking at the Zerg's base right now from your point of view, your vision.
Yeah.
And you can see that the hatchery, this is really awkward, but you could tell he just finished a layer. So he hasn't had one for a while, because the reason why is because the hatchery just like grew in size as you scouted it into a layer. That'll never happen if it's already been a layer. It'll just be it when you get there. So, and you also heard the sound effect of like a like it made a noise too, which means it just finished evolution. So this is huge detail, because that tells you the Zerg is pretty committed to double Evo chambers and is also just recently hitting a layer. And a 5-minute layer is still relatively early. It's not even like, oh, that's really late. But there is no chance for like a really quick spire or something like that, like some rush. It also wouldn't make sense also to be like, oh, I'm going for a spire really fast off of double Evo, because that's way too much gas as well for anti-muta. Like it would be like allocating too much gas to something else that is not Mutalisk, essentially.
Mhm.
Now, something you can do too. Now this is a little bit more advanced, but something you could do is you could always check their gases and kind of count what they've made. And the reason why I say this is advanced is because you got to be really comfortable with doing math on the fly really fast while you're in the middle of doing a build in StarCraft. And that's not the easiest thing in the world to do because it's distracting as hell. So if you look at it really fast, though, you could tell that this is just like summed up numbers, okay? This is the easiest way to do this is not doing exacts, but doing averages. And it's the easiest way to do it's by hundreds. So if you average it out, or just in general, a gas always starts at 2250. And then if you look at the gas at the natural, or in his main, the top one, I mean, it's got 1870 right now. And if you were to look at how much that, if you averaged it off, I would say that has mined about 400. It's not exact, but you could average it off at 400. And if you look at the gas right below that in the south of his main base, it's at 1750. So again, not exact, but if you average it off, that's mined about 500. So if you add those together, that's now about 900 gas that this dude has mined out of the main base. Now, if you can quickly add up what things cost as well, we can tell this guy has got Zergling speed, and he's got some variation of 1-1 on those evos. It doesn't necessarily have to mean it's melee and carapace. It could be range weapons and carapace.
Yeah.
But if you know what those cost, that both melee and range weapons also cost 100 each, like 100 minerals, 100 gas, so it's the same investment. The carapace is the odd one that costs 150. So overall, you could say, okay, the Evo Chamber spawning pool combination so far has invested 100, 100 plus 150, which is 350. And then the layer on top of that is now 450. So if this guy has about 900 gas, he's spent a little bit more than half of it, or like about half of it essentially, with only his main base investment, right? Now, as your Phoenix goes further, and oh, does it stop? Uh-oh. Okay, so it stops. So seeing the natural would be a big deal too. This is why that's why I was saying your detour on the top of the map didn't really help you. You want to make sure you get to his base as soon as possible, because that told you a little bit, but it didn't tell you everything. So again, you're like, I would say the thing that you don't have to do in your own gameplay would be counting the gas. That is Masters Plus. If you want to do that, I mean, you're definitely going to use it in Masters Plus, like GM Masters, stuff like that. But for now in Diamond, you don't have to count gas. The thing you do need to do, though, in Diamond, and you need to also do in Masters as well, as a byproduct of that, is you need to count mineral line drones. That you have to do that. So if you would have scouted the natural and the third, you could have confirmed, okay, first of all, no third, and then second of all, look at that natural mineral line for Zerg right now. It has got nothing. That's 100% a gas invested Zerg player, and you always compare it with your mineral line. That's it. So you like, a lot of people also, when I tell them this, they're like, well, how do I know if that's good or bad? Just look at your build. Your mineral line is banging, fully saturated, really good. That guy's mineral line is looking pretty sad. Like, it's not good. So that is definitely drone advantage for you. And there's two things that means now. Two ways you should read this. Number one, play defensive, because this guy is falling so far behind in the economy game, he'll never keep up with you. And number two, expect something tech-based to attack you. So if you don't know what it is yet, it's okay. Like, obviously, if you figure that out, that's great. Your next scout hopefully will figure that out when you're with your next hallucinated scout, which is almost ready again right now. But even if you don't know what it is, if you just play defensive, odds are you're probably gonna be fine. Just because this is such a weak economy. And then once you actually have your situation set up in a good way, where you're like, all right, I'm feeling confident, I have a good army, I have my my base is set up with my static D, things like, you know, the whole classic B2GM stuff, where you're like, all right, I'm ready to move out, I'm making some cannon battery, let's go. That would be like, if the Zerg still hasn't attacked you really by then, you're just gonna run them over and kill them. Like, there's no way the Zerg has a chance if his economy looks like this until that point. So scouting could be a little better, as we talked about. We'll talk more about it for the next round. But otherwise, your macro is literally looking great again. You're spending your money like a champ, and yeah, your expansions are looking really well on time. Zerg's now this would be a moment where you could tell very, very, very heavily what the Zerg is doing. Okay, so this is another form of scouting. So it's not about always scouting their base, but I would say as a general rule of thumb, if you ever scout an Evo chamber, or the same thing could be said if you ever scout like a armory and the Terran player is hitting you with mech units, or if you ever scout a spire, if you ever scout basically anything that can upgrade weapon upgrades or armor upgrades, and then the player is also making units that correspond to those things. The point I'm trying to make here is you saw double Evo, I would 100% say click a Zergling, like just one in this fight while it's happening, so you can actually see and you go, oh, you are actually getting melee and carapace. Okay, so, and that rules out so many builds if you figure that out. Like, if you see this, it kind of negates Roach builds, Ravager builds. It doesn't fully negate Hydra builds, but it definitely does negate Roach and Ravager. Simply because Roach Ravager is not really gonna, like, it's so larva consuming, and it doesn't really make sense to go Roaches if you're gonna be making Lings with upgraded Lings. Now, Hydras could be a part of this, but if there are Hydras behind this, it's going to be very limited in the amount they could have. Another thing he might be able to do is he might be able to go for, instead of going Hydras, maybe tech all the way to Lurker. Like, basically the point I'm trying to make here is he's going to have, on the ground, a very limited amount of gas support to these Lings, because Lings are so larva expensive, and this guy doesn't have a lot of larva. Now, another thing he could do is he could go even crazier on the tech. Like, he could go all the way to Ultralisk, or he could go all the way to like Spire, maybe Broodlord even, or maybe just like Mutalisk, something like that, or maybe even like Infestors. Basically, it makes more sense for this guy's build if he's gonna go for something that is very larva cheap but resource expensive. So that's a unit like an Ultralisk, where it's like one larva spends a ton of money, essentially. It looks more like that, just because again this guy's economy is so weak and he's actually going double upgraded Lings. So you could already kind of tell what kind of build he's going for if you take the details like that. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And then otherwise, defending this would be, I would say, in this moment, the only thing you could have done better, and that would have made this really, really easy to defend, is you just didn't make a shield battery. If you had a shield battery... Yeah.
I forgot this game. It was a total mistake.
Yeah, no, it's all good. If you had a shield battery, though, this would have been the easiest defense of your life. And then, yeah, easy peasy. There, you make it now. So, I mean, I know you understand. That's good. I'm glad you made it in the replay as well at this point. And I would say, also, if a Zerg player does this to you, 100% make another battery right away in your third base. Like, get those batteries down ASAP and really be very quick about walling your bases off. Like, we talked about that before, right? I think we did. Where
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Definitely prioritize that. Like, get some gateways down quickly, because this guy is probably going to be all over your probes at your third base. So this would be a situation where I would say this, okay? So there might be a situation before where I might have said, take your fourth base. You're at 6 minutes. You're fully saturated. Make sure you get that fourth down. And then it's just like generic macro. But in this kind of a game, with scouting and reactions to what your opponent's doing, you taking a fourth base right now, in my opinion, would be incorrect. And what would be correct instead would be getting gateways for your third base and then taking your fourth base. So you still take your fourth. You just actually prioritize gateways this game first instead. And the reason why is because your opponent is already so far behind in economy anyways right now. And if you play even greedier, you only give the Zerg player a chance to potentially find openings to kill your probes. So it's reacting to like you're throttling your greed by how hardcore he's being aggressive. It's these things are like judgment calls. It's reactionary play to what you think is capable from your opponent, and your opponent definitely is going ham on making units and upgrades.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how greedy I was this game, but I think I was a little too greedy.
Sure. I mean,
remember correctly.
if you take a fourth right now, I mean, if the guy doesn't punish you, then thank God you could win the game for that. But if the guy is actually playing the way his build should operate, which is aggressive, you being extra greedy doesn't, like, basically, let me say it like this, okay? This is probably the easiest way to make this make sense in an overall way. There are 3 ways to play StarCraft. There is safe greed and aggression. And if you identify something of your opponent is, like, for instance, this game is 100% aggression. This guy has no drones. He's got like half your probe count right now, basically. And if you identify that he's aggressive, you need to turn, if you're playing greedy right now, you need to turn that into safe immediately, because if you don't, you only increase your chance of dying. And then, so safe beats aggression, aggression beats greed, and greed beats safe. And it literally is like a circle of life of StarCraft. So that's how reactionary play needs to operate in a like effective way. Because if you go, oh, aggression, huh? Well, I'll show you some greed now. You're like giving him a chance to kill you, essentially, because you're being way too greedy then. All right, and then so yeah, now you're taking your fourth. Yeah, this is a little too greedy here. And I would say as well, something that just like the perfect way I would have said for you to follow up your third would have been, and especially the way your opponent's playing this game, if you put gateways on the bottom right side of your third base gas. So if like the outside of your base, essentially, you put gateways in a line that goes along that up to your nexus, and it covers the entire bottom right side of your third base. And then you take your fourth base in the top middle 12 o'clock spot, and you put gateways along the left side of that nexus.
I see.
So you have like the heart of your base could be where your army stands, and it's really easy for your army to defend left and right. And then, because right now, if you put gateways to cover the middle right base you have, not the 3 o'clock, but like the one that's actually got probes at it, your third essentially. If you put gateways there, it kind of also sections off your fourth, so it makes it harder to defend it. So then it just really it like overexposes your fourth base. And then again, your opponent's style is like hoping you do things like this, because he's all crazy aggression with like lings and upgrades. All right, so good scout again. So this is also a moment too. I think I know why. Okay, and now I understand what's going on here. You're not scouting for a proxy. Like in terms of like, you're not thinking like, oh, gasless, are you proxying me? You're just scouting for potential hidden bases. You're scouting every base on the map, which is fine. I don't mind it. But I would say that only, so this is where scouting is super important. That only applies now if you don't know how to read an economy as much. And I would say most players in Platinum and below don't know how to read economy. It's like they're in the developing stages of like learning how to play the game. But now that you're Diamond, this is why I'm, like I said before, like we even started off the lesson by saying this. Scouting is so important here. Like your scouting is massive in Diamond, and it's because you actually have to like know how to develop reactions to your opponent's play to advance as a player from now on. Because generic gameplay doesn't work anymore. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
So what you want to do, what you really want to get good at now, is I'm not going to say don't ever scout outer bases. You still totally can later on in the game, but I would say for at least your first 2 scouts, okay? So scout, this is the best way to say this. Scout number 3 and beyond, scout whatever you want. You can scout the whole like edge of the map, really confirm there's no hidden bases. That's totally fine. But scouts 1 and 2, because this right now is scout number 2, and your first scout did it as well. Scouts 1 and 2 need to directly go to the Zerg's base, because you can automatically tell if the Zerg is or isn't taking a weird base based off of that. So we're just gonna back it up really fast and talk about your first scout and kind of break down what would make sense with like what he could have essentially. So your first scouted sentry is coming along here, and let's just hypothetically say that you did your scout really soon after you had the energy, okay? Because you ended up waiting until almost 90. And then you also scouted the top, so there was a little bit of wasted time. But let's just say, hypothetically, your scout enters the Zerg's third base by about 4 minutes, all right? Because it would that's very fair, I would say. If you made a Hallucinating Phoenix right now, 20 seconds for it to cross the map to the third is super fair. That's like that. I feel like we'd probably get there even faster than that, but yeah. So let's just hypothetically start it off at 4 minutes, all right? So 4 minutes right now. We'll assume you started scouting the 6 o'clock base first. So no third. And then you'd bounce up to the next potential third above the main right after. And your Phoenix would probably get there about like, let's say like 8 seconds later. Or like 10 seconds. We'll say 10 seconds. It's very fair numbers here. So it's still, okay, no third there either. Now, that's a humongous detail. Because look at your third. And the Zerg, you're Protoss. And the Zerg doesn't have a third, and you do.
Definitely.
So that's crazy stuff right now. You're like, oh, okay, this guy is 100% doing something super aggressive probably. And then now you bounce into his main. Let's go again forward maybe like another 7 seconds to go from the third into the main. And now by like 417, you're like, okay, double gas, double Evo, a layer, and Zergling speed. Very interesting. And then now, let's say like another 7 seconds later again, you hit up the natural, and this is your final part of the scout. Now this is the biggest one. So like the third base was a huge one. The main base is like a kind of hard to read to a degree, but it gives you an idea of what's going on. But it's not really allowing you to read how aggressive the Zerg is going to be. Because, like, this guy could have a bunch of drones with this, for all you know, if it was just the main base. Like, at other bases, too. But the third base not being there, massive. And then now going forward, like, another 7 seconds, now you'd be at the natural. And now you're like, okay, let me look at my natural again. And let me look at your natural. 21 probes on the mineral line, or 4. Like, this is huge detail again, right? So that right there, this is again, it's your second scout, or sorry, this is your first scout. So this is a humongous sign of aggression. This would be your reaction. A good reaction to this now would be, oh my god, play safe. This guy is crazy. Like, he's totally going to attack me with something really heavy, and it's not. This guy's not being greedy at all. I have so many more probes than he has drones right now. And then that would be the end of your scout. So this just alerts you to say, double Evo gameplay, play safe. Like, double Evo gameplay with aggression focus, play safe. So economy is how you can read their choice of aggression or not. And then their base is also how you can, like, their base is how you can read what kind of a composition they're going to go for, more or less. But just because the composition, like, I want to make sure you understand that composition doesn't dictate aggressive or defensive or whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all economy that dictates that. And then your next scout, it could be happening like right now. Same thing again. If your scout was getting thrown out there like right now, you'd be at his base by like, let's say, like 550-ish, or like his third base by around like 550. We'll say we'll make it fair. We'll say like 6 minutes, because you could have made it like after the Zerglings left. So at 6 minutes, look at the third base. Still nothing. And now you're taking a fourth. And then let's say you go like 10 seconds forward again, and now you're at like the other third base. Still no third base. And your fourth is on the way. And this is like, oh my god. This dude is so far behind right now. And then again, 7 seconds later again, go into the main base. And you're like, okay, we have a layer being upgraded into a hive. And the Evo chambers are still pumping upgrades. And I already saw he was 1-1 when he just attacked me. Massive information here. I would say chances of this guy doing adrenal gland Zerglings are very high. And he might even be crazy enough to go for like Ultralisks with this or something like that.
That's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's that composition is, again, massive information from the main, but it's just composition. But no third is the way you operate the game from there can rotate into now safe, and it would make so much sense for you to do that. And then again, 7 seconds later from here, go into like the natural, and now you see, you're like, okay, you had double gas and like 4 drones on the mineral line earlier, and now you have all minerals. And now I would say, okay, this looks like a Zergling focus player for a while here, because like number one, their drone count's really bad. They still don't even have a fully saturated natural at this point. So what are they doing with their larvae? Have to have a ton of Zerglings somewhere. And then secondly, the fact that they're no longer prioritizing gas would make me feel like, okay, this person got what they wanted, which was their upgrades, of the investment of their upgrades, and also the hive. And now they're going to take a break on it, and they're probably reinvest into it later. So it's not going to be something that's going to be like crazy ultras really fast. It's probably going to be something that's more like adrenal glands with 3-3 with a lot of lings really early. And then it still could turn into like ultras or something like that. But it would definitely look Zergling focused seeing this. And then that's totally fine. And from here, this is the point where I would say, if I were you, I would be like, okay, well, I'm super far ahead, though. I'm massively ahead. So how about I just send, like, maybe a stalker out on the map, and then I just go check, like, the left side, and then have it shift a move back to my base, and then have it check the right side, just to make sure there's not, like, a random hidden base. You don't have to do it with the Phoenix, essentially. You could do it with, like a unit. Because this does, like, I would say, just throwing it out there, and this is a merit to your macro, this guy's build doesn't make sense. Like, you are miles ahead for no reason. And it's simply because your macro is crushing the crap out of this guy. Like, he just cannot macro as good as you do. So if you saw, and then that's why it would be like, maybe there is a third. Why does he have nothing still, and he's going for Zerglings only? Like you can't really justify he's that far behind just so he could get upgrades. It's because this guy doesn't know how to make a build properly. He's going for a Zergling focus unit, and he's like prioritizing gas like crazy. So that would be a moment to go scout. And then if you confirmed, okay, yeah, there's no hidden bases. There is no extra hatcheries anywhere else on the map, and I'm not like missing something here. Then you'd say, okay, now I'm just really far ahead. It makes sense. Like, I'm just crushing this guy right now, and his build is just inoptimal. Because physically, like, there's nothing else on the map that can't be scouted anymore. I've seen everything, and I now know for a fact there's a 2-base Zerg versus a 4-base Protoss, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you scout. So, anyways, that's kind of how it would go. That, like, those reactions are so, like, that is StarCraft from now on for you. Diamond Plus all the way to Pro Gamer, that is StarCraft. Like, knowing how to make reactions like on the spot are so important in this game. And some builds are honestly harder to read than others are. There are some that are kind of like middle of the road, and you're like, what should I do? And that takes experience for sure. This one was very clear, bad economy, lots of unit early, and you didn't even die because your macro just is really good. Like, that attack did nothing to you. But anyways, so your scout's going through his base right now for real, and I'm gonna go back and watch your exact scout. So look at your, let me get back to your Phoenix when it spawns. Here we go, there it is. So look at your Phoenix. What I want you to look at is I want you to click your Phoenix right now, and I want you to look at the Zerg's 3rd base and look at your shift rally points. And I want you from now on to reverse that. I want you to make sure you go over or behind the mineral line instead of behind like the middle of the army area. Because you, like, in that with the way you're giving yourself vision, like, watch how your Phoenix when it gets here. You might see a little bit of the mineral line. Like, now you can see this base is clearly just like not done, but you see the 3rd, that's nice. But you're not actually seeing the whole mineral line half the time. And the further away you scout, like, from the mineral line, the more likely it's going to be harder to read the probes or the drones. Now, same thing when you go here. You go to the natural, and you check the edge of the mineral line, and you see the gases aren't being utilized anymore, but you're not seeing any of the right or any of the left side of the mineral line at all. And you just go up now. So you're making it really hard to read the mineral line for yourself, and that, again, that is how you tell if the Zerg is aggressive or not, based on how many workers they're actually making. So definitely make sure you're making more of an effort to scout the mineral line. That'll help a lot more for all the reasons we just talked about. And then I would say as well, make sure you're really checking the other potential 3rd. And then the same thing could be said as well. If the guy, let's just say this guy owns the 3rd like he does, okay? The next scout you would do, so like, let's say your current scout is gone. It disappears now and it's over. The next scout you'd want to do with your Phoenix would be at the 4th and the other potential 4th. Like, you'd want to scout the newest base potential that he could have. And, like, for instance, this guy was on 2 bases forever. And there is, I would say, I would not be surprised if he double expanded right now, because he's super far behind. And you knowing that he's going to do that is a huge detail, and it's such a small detour for your Phoenix to check the other close base to the Zerg's base. So I would say if you check the 3rd and then flew up to the other 3rd and then flew in the main and then the natural, or again, if you check the north 3rd and then flew to the south 3rd and then check the natural then the main, that'd be a great way to check it all out and make sure you're not missing the beat here on potential expansions, and just making your life easier. But another thing to look at here, this is another big detail to read, okay? With Zerg, you really want to have an idea. So this is we're going to kind of shift gears now, okay? So we talked a lot about scouting, and we talked a lot about reactions and reading a Zerg player, essentially, and like how that should go. But now let's talk about how to set up a strategy of attack. Now, the way you want to pair your units versus your opponent's units is you want to dictate, is your army the more mobile army, and is your army the more powerful army? And like how does your units like pair up against what they have? Now, I would say in this particular game, your opponent's going for Zerglings and upgraded lings at that. You are going for Stalkers, Immortals, and Sentry so far, and you're now starting to explode like your Council, your Gateways, stuff like that. So I would say in general, you should definitely not move out right now because the odds of him crushing you in a fight if he makes a lot of lings are very high. Now, here's something that pairs with your scouting early that it can dictate how you decide you want to attack somebody. So it's not only just about scouting the Zerg's bases and drones and stuff like that. You also want to scout how far out their creep is every time. Like, that's something that you should take note of and go, okay, like, oh, okay, like, is the Zerg's creep, like, you know, all the way at the Zanaga Tower already? Or is it, like, is it at the middle of the map? Is it barely out of the base at all? And the reason why this is important is because it can actually change how you should attack the Zerg. And I'll explain that in a minute. But you don't always have to attack the Zerg with one simple attack, essentially. You can actually have strategies that distract the Zerg while you kill creep, and that is so beneficial sometimes if the Zerg has got monster creep spread. Now, if you look at a Zerg player like this, and you're like, okay, where is your creep spread? Like, this guy hasn't done a single tumor. So that's not something you got to worry about anymore. This guy is doing you a massive favor by just not spreading creep. So it's making your life 100 times easier. And I would say, based off the fact that the Zerg has no creep at all, do not attack until you're ready to attack when your army is maxed. And I would say, based on the composition that he has, 100% keep making Immortals. But now I would also say, probably stop making Stalkers and really add on some Zealots and some Immortal or Archons.
Just now I was
for sure, yeah. I see that you're making that Council. And that's perfect because if you transition your remaining like 80 supply and a charge the Archon Immortal, you are going to absolutely wreck this guy. Like that's what would happen essentially if you also properly covered your third base and stuff like that. All right, and then another little quick piece of information that I would say. Let's just hypothetically say that this Zerg player's creep spread was really good. Okay, let's say his creep was all the way to the Zanaga Tower in the south side, and he was all the way to like you see how the terrain is like brown in the middle of the map on his side. Let's say like the creep is all the way to the base of that ramp on the north side of the brown section of his side of the map. So like 50% of the way up the map, essentially. Like if his creep was all the way over there like that, I'd be like, okay, a little bit more threatening. This guy's got a little bit more map control than you'd like right now. And a cool way you could deal with that would be get like you have an observer, which is good, and you could do something as like cool and interesting, like you could if the guy has no anti-air, like no prism or no spire or no hydra, you could even make like a prism with an observer, and you could load it up with a couple of stalkers or something, and you could start killing creep, which is, again, that's a little more attention to detail right there. That's maybe something that's more for like Masters League. But if you're like talking about like Diamond, something a little bit easier to do, when you're ready to do your attack, just get a second observer. Okay, so make like you have one for now, which is nice, which you're going to use with your main army. Get a second observer and make just like 4 or maybe like 5 zealots with that observer. So you could have like select all army, control 1, grab like 5 zealots and a second observer, and then like hit Alt 2 or Control 2. And what I don't know if you know what Alt does, but what it does is it's called a steal command, and it deletes units that so the units you currently have selected, if you hit Alt and a number on them, it'll put them in whatever number you press as a control group, and it will delete them out of any other control group they exist in as well. So you don't have like this problem of like always controlling your shit with like multiple groups, and you're like, whoops, oh god, it's going everywhere. And then what you could do with this is you could A-move your army and the Zerg's base, and you could then A-move because again, if you're like keeping tabs on the edge of where creep is every time you're scouting towards the Zerg, again, you don't have to scout the entire perimeter of creep. It's just more or less like, oh, 50% of the map. Okay, 40% of the map, 30% of the map, 20% of the map. Like, you're just having a rough estimate on like how far the creep out is for Zerg, even if you don't know exactly where it is. But when you set up your fight, you take the other set of units and you A-move towards where you think the creep is going to be at on the opposite side of where your army's going. And what it does for you is you completely wipe out a whole section of creep while your main army's taking a fight. And it's such a small investment of units to do that, that it's not going to really change the course of the fight, of the main battle. It's just going to really, like, you're going to take away, like, the last 7 minutes of creep spread for the Zerg, essentially, when you do that. Which is so horrible for Zerg, essentially. So creep control is something you should actually start implementing in your gameplay now that you're in Diamond League. Because the best situation you can be in as Protoss against Zerg is making the Zerg feel blind, because the Zerg has no creep. And the Zerg then also has no mobility. And then it's really easy to control how you fight the Zerg at that point, because the Zerg is always stuck on defense. And it's really, really problematic for the Zerg to ever push out of their base, because they just can't, essentially, anymore. It's really hard. So, anyways, that would be that's something, a way that you could abuse people with creep, but this guy doesn't have any, so you don't even have to do that. It's not a big deal. I'm going to ask you, actually, a question really fast. Have you started multi-pronging yet at all?
No.
Okay, so that's also something that you're going to want to start doing. It's super easy once you know how to do it. And there are 2 levels of multi-prong, okay? And if you're feeling crazy, you could skip step 1 and go right into step 2. Sometimes, don't always do it. But you could mix it up a little bit and go straight into step 2. And I'll tell you what the steps are in a second here. But I kind of already explained step 1. Step 1 is the creep killing. So the multi-prong of creep killing would be you main attack his army, which kills creep along the way to his base from your main army. But it's only one section of creep that's getting attacked. And then your other second little tiny force is a creep killing force, which is really going out of its way to kill creep. So that's step 1. Just like managing to kill creep while you take fights. Because what it's doing is it's really handicapping the Zerg, essentially, like a lot there. Now, step 2 is once you already have kind of pushed the Zerg back into his corner, if you've accomplished that successfully, step 2 would be add in either a counterattack of zealots on the ground or add in a warp prism. Either one is nice. Either one works really great. So if you wanted, let's say you wanted to use a counterattack of zealots on the ground, what you could do is you could be like, okay, let's just hypothetically, this is hypothetical, okay? Let's say the Zerg has 4 bases along the whole south side of the map on his side. So that means if you're going to attack the 4th base, you're going to be attacking like the 5 o'clock position, essentially. So if your whole army goes down there to attack that, you'd want to attack from as far on the opposite side of the map than the other side of the map. So what that means is you'd want to attack from like the 4 o'clock position, not like above the 5 o'clock, almost at like the 6 o'clock position, if that makes sense. Like you wouldn't want to go straight south from Zelnaga. You'd want to go all the way to the right and then curve in leftwards into the 4th base of Zerg. Because you want the Zerg to go as far to the right as possible. That's the whole point of what you want to happen there. You want to pull him as far out of position as you can. Now, while you're doing that, you could grab like 10 zealots, not your whole army, or not like half your army, just a threatening amount of units. And I would say like 10 zealots would be a great number to go for. It's not too much, but it's definitely scary. And then you would have them A-move the complete, like near the map on the other side, and have them A-move the complete other side. So 10 zealots could A-move the left side from like the 10 o'clock position on the very top left, and then you go down to the 9 o'clock, and then you curve in towards the expansion above the main, and then you curve into the natural, and then curve into the main. And you could just have them on A-move, and what would happen is if the Zerg takes a fight with you at like 4 o'clock, suddenly his expansion at like 8 o'clock is just getting pounded by your zealots. And if it just has like a queen and drones, that could win you the game right there. Because then you just kill an entire expansion, all the drones die, and the expansion dies. And then the Zerg might not even realize it half the time in Diamond League. So that is something you need to start doing almost every time you take a fight. You need to start doing zealot run-bys a lot with big army pushes.
Should I do this with any race?
Yep.
Or just Zerg?
Pretty much.
All races?
It's so effective. Because it's not something that's like too big to make your army substantially weak. Because you're definitely not doing counterattacks with like Archons and Immortals. You want your power in your army. You're just doing it with something that's highly mobile for you, which is just Zealots. And that'll net you so much damage every time you do it. And then another way you can do it too is instead of having like 10 Zealots go do it right away, you could actually max out with a Warp Prism and then fly your warp prism into the like behind like the main base or something of your opponent's area, take the fight, and then every time a unit dies, instead of remaxing at your base, you remax like 10 zealots or like 15 zealots in their base. And then, so you like your initial remax is like in their base with zealots, and then you just run over all their tech and production, and it becomes a big problem. And either one of those would work. It just creates a ton of problems that makes it really hard for your opponent to deal with. And then if you do that, if you make a habit of doing that every game, and you can mix it up. You could be like, I'm gonna do a prism, I'm gonna do a zealot run by at the 4th base, I'm gonna do a prism in the main base now, I'm gonna do blah blah blah. I'm gonna keep doing attacks like this. I'm gonna attack the left side of the map with my main army, and now I'm gonna do a zealot counterattack on the right side. You could even crisscross your attacks where it's like attack number 1 is big army on the right side and little attack on the left side, and attack number 2 is reverse of that, big army now on the left side and little attack on the right side. And you can keep mixing it up. Yeah, you just mix it up for your opponent is like however you feel like you want to do it, and you will make them cripple all the time, because you're going to be sniping expansion after expansion by doing this, and it's such little investment for you. And then again, the warp prism thing is just, like if you kill like a spire or if you kill like the main base, it's just like, okay, this guy's now screwed. Like that was all the tech is gone, and that's like, there's like no recovery here for this guy anymore. So that's an amazing way to take fights for the mid game. All right, so now we'll kind of go. We'll go through now. I want to see the next time the Zerg attacks you here, or until you max out. So you just saw a big blob of Zerglings there. A little scary. That'd be another moment where I would say you definitely want to mix those gateways at like the edges of your bases instead of in your main, just so you're not gonna be more safe again, right? Okay, now you are maxing out. And this is something scary too, I would say. Be really careful when you do actually move out with your whole army to make sure, especially when you play against someone who is going for like this really awkward, I'm going to mass you kind of a build, making sure your army doesn't scatter around the map like this.
Yeah.
And
I think with this one, I just let them run into the whole army.
Yeah,
and
right?
actually realized they were there.
Yeah, because like the reason why it's happening to you on this one is just because of the rocks, literally. Like those rocks between your army right now are definitely making the units really dumb, and they're like, it's quicker to go left, and the other half of your army's like, no, it's actually quicker to go to the right. So yeah. And then kind of, you didn't lose too much though, so it's not that bad. You actually grouped up again, so it's really not that big of a deal. But yeah, I mean, I feel like in this fight, you're gonna just steamroll this guy. Yeah. And this is again a testament to your macro more than anything. And I mean, right here, this, if I didn't know, if you didn't tell me what league you were in, I would already assume Diamond by default, just because, like not necessarily your opponent, but you, because your macro is literally just trouncing this guy. So good macro, honestly. I'm very impressed by your macro. It's really, really not your weak point at all. So last time I can't remember exactly what I told you, but I think I might have said Diamond League was very realistically in your future, or maybe I said Platinum or something. Yeah, okay. So, and here you are, right?
Possibly Diamond.
Here you are. You crushed the competition, and you're already in Diamond League. Now, if you take what we're talking about today and apply that to your gameplay and really like fine-tune your scouting and fine-tune your strategy of how to attack, like how the two-step process, Masters League is 100% in your future. Now it's not as easy as like, oh, you'll get it in a week. Like Diamond League is a massive league, and I 100% think I already think you're better than Diamond 3. I'm like, if you can do what I just said, 100% you're immediately going to get a Diamond 3. Diamond 2 and Diamond 1 are a little bit of a different story. I feel like you'll probably be in Diamond 2 for a while, and then Diamond 1 even longer. But Diamond 1's going to really be, like, I would say this, Diamond 3 is going to be, if you can apply what I just said, you'll get out of Diamond 3. Diamond 2 is going to be a thing where it's going to be like, if you can start to like understand it for most situations, you're going to get out of Diamond 2. But Diamond 1's going to honestly be, you need to not only understand what we just talked about and, and apply it to every game you play, but you need to also probably start being able to understand it with multiple variations of tech path upgrade, like build orders for yourself. Like you need to be able to know how to apply it with a Stargate build, and also a Robo build, and also a Council build. So that's when this game starts getting a little bit even more advanced. So you can kind of, because I will say you could do one build repeatedly and win a lot on ladder, but the problem with that I would see is if you play the same people every now and again and you become predictable, and then they're like, oh, I know this person always does this. So if you start switching it up a little bit, if you play the same people, you have that wild card aspect to yourself where you can just like take wins all the time because people just don't know what to expect from you. But yeah, I mean, you're going to crush this guy's army right here. This is going to... Your mortals are just pounding here. You might lose a lot, but you'll definitely remax faster than he will. And you'll just maintain that supply lead. And then this poor guy's creep, right? Now, this is a moment... this is actually kind of important, okay? So, you do need to really cater to your army. Like the army that pushes. I would say the aspect of full-on A move and just letting it go as long as it goes is over. And what should happen now would be a little bit of a judgment call, and it would be something like this. How many bases does the Zerg have? How many bases do I have? If the answer is you have more than him ever, which this one clearly is that right now, the best thing you can do is extend the game, okay? So if your army got battered down, this is very now, the army that you have pushing still is very tiny. This is probably a total of like 30 supply. Not very big. I would say back up. Like, you killed a couple creep tumors. You killed his whole first army. Back up right now. Remax. Do it again. Do the two-step process.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, the best way you'll win this game is if you make sure this guy's not going to get a base on you. Like another base on you, essentially. Because the worst thing you could do right now is continuously push and somehow let his reinforcements now overpower your army that's in his base. And then maybe he was also being greedy at the same moment where you could have easily killed a fourth base and you let him get away with it. And now he's getting an even bigger chance to now also deal with your remax. Like you definitely don't want that stuff to happen. So at this point, I would definitely say back up, meet up with those Archons. And here's the biggest reason why I say this, okay? This is the concept as to why this makes sense. He can remake the army that just died in like a snap of a finger. You can't, because you're making immortals. Now, if you had zealots, I'd be like, yeah, go kill some drones. Go kill some hatcheries. Push them to the limit and really try to get as much damage out of that as you can. But it's not zealots. It's really expensive units. So you want to make sure those don't die. That's why you would want to back up, because these are so valuable and they take so long to get back up in your army again. And they're also so important because now he's going ultras. Yeah, and then you can see you are still doing a good job though, but now your army it's like slowly disappearing. But I mean, okay, so you group up with the Archons though, so you're fine. Again, I will say you are breaking the rule by pushing with those immortals, but it feels like you're not, because your macro is just better than this guy. So it's like it shouldn't work, but it does. But overall, honestly, pretty good, like very good macro. The things that, if I had to recap this game a little bit, I would say, in order of like what's important, number one, really make sure you work on the scouting and really try to identify like worker counts and like identifying the aggression aspect, the safe aspect, or the greed aspect, like so you can know what you're up against and how you should react to it. The second thing I would definitely recommend for you to do is start understanding how you should play against something. So I kind of explained to you how to go, like if you are greedy and your opponent is aggressive, that means now you should throttle back to safe, and I explained how that should be, and that would be turtling until you're maxed and then making gateways properly to defend your probes. That would be a perfect response. Now let's just hypothetically say that your opponent was being greedy, and you, on the other hand, you were doing like B2GM build, which is it is greedy as well, but it's like a safe form of greed. It's kind of between safe and between greedy. It's somewhere in the middle there. It's not like I'm telling you to make 5 Nexus with nothing. Like, just make
Yeah.
probes. And if this guy was doing that, let's say this guy had like 1 gas and 5 hatcheries when you were on 3 Nexus. And he's being so ridiculously greedy. And when you scout his bases, he's making nothing but drones. And you're like, okay, is this guy serious? Is this guy just droning that hard? That would be a moment where you could now react to it in a way where you could attack if you wanted to. You could shift gears into now aggressive play versus someone who's being insanely greedy if you want to do that. Or if you if you want to. So just know there's 2 ways to react, okay? One is you do the opposite that supposedly counters. So if you see greedy and you go, okay, I'm going to counter that with aggressive, that is an option. You can also do the same thing they're doing and it cancels out. So if you see your opponent is playing ridiculously greedy and then you go, you know what? Double Nexus. I see your crazy hatcheries. I'll double Nexus as well now. Like, I'm just going to go, like, I know it's supposed to only take 1, but I'm double Nexusing instead. You could do that too. So you react, like you either cancel it out or you alternate with your thing to their thing. One or the other works, honestly. So you could also, if you're not ready to attack him and you're not feeling confident about it, you could just expand faster. That would also work. And if your opponent's playing, if your opponent would be playing safe, let's say you scouted safe instead, the way you played this game would be perfect. Prioritize expansions in a good way, like in a greedy way. Keep building your units the way you did. Like B2GM is a perfect response to people who play safe. And there you go. And now you're going to max out faster than they do. They're going to be on defense all game after you max, and then you're in a good spot. Yeah, and then that would be a great way to play against all 3. So scouting and identifying what position you should be in would be, again, like I was saying, that's a huge thing to work on going forward in the game. And then the final third thing that you should work on for now, going forward, would be really making sure that you try to implement like the 2-step attack process. And against Terran and Protoss, it's a little bit easier. You don't got to do step 1 because there's no creep. So it's just literally going straight to step 2, which is every time you attack, always counterattack something. Because I'm going to tell you right now, this is a 100% fact of StarCraft, and the higher level you get as Protoss, the more every opponent's going to let you know this. They're going to get mad at you and get salty about this.
Well, they're already, trust me.
Okay. Zealots are the strongest unit in the game when you A move them compared to everything else. So you definitely want to maximize that, and you want to add them into your attack patterns all the time. They will only give you positive gains like 99% of the time. They're very, very effective. So yeah, like that's something you should definitely be adding in and working on already for now Diamond League. All right, and then yeah, so this game's over now. You're just gonna run over him and kill him now. So yeah, otherwise really, really good stuff. Any questions about that particular situation there and things we talked about?
I don't think so.
Do you have another replay you want to go over, or do you want to go into, like, we can maybe go into more detail about like the attack patterns or whatever
yeah,
you're
if
thinking?
we could go into more detail about multi-prong and stuff, because this is the first time I've heard of it.
Okay.
Really,
So
in detail.
I'm gonna actually, this is gonna be a little bit different, and instead of hosting a what's it called, a traditional 1v1, let's do a more like a micro map really fast. Okay, 1 second. All right, so I'm gonna remake the party. I'll be the leader this time, and then
Okay.
I'll invite you. Invite you to party. And all right, so we'll test this. I don't know if you can control everything like I can, but hopefully you can. If you can't, we'll do a different game, and it'll be fine. But what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna have you get comfortable with hotkeys and like what you should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so if I put down a bunch of stalkers on the screen on either side, can you control either one of them? Okay, you can. You control the blue ones, right?
Only one of them, I think.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, that's good. So this is perfect then. So now I'm gonna clear it out, and I'm gonna give you an army that you'd probably be using like in your actual B2GM games. And then now, I'll be a Zerg or something, and I'll just have a bunch of Zerg garbage. Okay, or actually, I'll add some drones and a queen as well. So just to give a realistic example here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so now what I want you to do is I want you to have your you can select all army right now, and then that'll grab everything really fast. And now I want you to, in your select all army, do you see zealots on your first page?
No.
So now, do you see how there's like numbers where it's like 1, 2, 3, possibly 4?
Yep.
I want you to click number 2. Do you see zealots on that page?
Mm-hmm.
I want you to control click a zealot.
Okay.
I want you now to right click up above your army with just your zealots. Or there you go. And then now I want you to green box zealots on the outside. So, okay, I think some of your archons are following each other. Okay,
Yeah.
so do this. Select all army and tell it to stop. Or tell it to move. Like, actually, no, this is, like, let me start over. This would be the easiest way to do it because it'll actually make your units rotate. So, starting from scratch, select all army. I want you, and then you're going to do the sequence as fast as you can, and you'll only get faster over time. So if you don't do it fast the first time, it's totally fine. I want you to select all army, move command your army to like either top or bottom, and then whatever one if you do top, I want you to then control click the zealots and then have them move to the bottom. Or if you move your whole army to the bottom, then control click the zealots and move them to the top. So just make the zealots go opposite of where the rest of your army goes. And there you go. And then now I want you to green box your zealots. And I want you to not worry too much about exact numbers. Just try to get around 10. And when you have 10, I want you to hit.
Oh.
You good? Okay.
Yep.
And now when you have around 10, I want you to, so now what I want you to do is the way to do this would be, if you haven't have you made hockey yet? I don't actually think you've made hockey because I told you to do that yet.
I have a zealot hockey, yeah.
Okay, so
I'm not sure if I'm supposed to.
okay, so what? Okay, so just to start from the way that hockeys would start is, you actually would be like select all army before you can control click the zealots. Select all army, control 1 or something, whatever you're comfortable with, and then when you control click the zealots, and you move them out, you would then just green box a chunk of them, and then you would hit like Alt 2. So then it would delete them from 1 and put them on 2 by themselves. So the first process is just getting comfortable with isolating your units and having them set up in a way that's really easy to use.
I can isolate 1, but I'm having problems doing it with the rest of them.
Okay, so green boxing is going to be something you're going to do a lot from now on. Like, you're going to green box a shitload. To grab selections of things in general. And the only reason why I wanted to take the zealots out of the army in the first place is because if you green box them in the middle of everything else, you might grab like 6 archons and all the immortals and the sentry and all this stuff too. So now if you have all the zealots there, you'd want to green box about half of those, and then hit Alt 2, or again you can just use 1 and 2 for now just to make it easy. Put your the entire army on control 1, and then green box half the zealots and hit Alt 2. And then it should be like somewhere around 10. It doesn't have to be exactly 10. If it's like 8 or 12, it's fine. On 2. But you're doing Alt 2 is the key there. So do you have those zealots you're moving right now? Do you have them on 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so now what you do then is I'd have you go 1, A click towards my main army, and 2, A click towards my drones.
Okay.
And then this is a moment where you wouldn't, this is how you'd be attacking the Zerg, right? You wouldn't really care anymore about what happens. Like, you know, like the very, very big specifics of those zealots. The zealots are kind of just, they're gone. Like, if they die, they die. Yeah. But they're going to probably do a lot of damage. But what you really want to watch is if your main army starts losing the fight, or if you start feeling like you want to retreat and like not lose your expensive units, you can always pull back and then make a new set of units and regroup and repeat the process over and over and over. So I'm going to restart it now. And I want you to try again yourself this time. Try to like grab everything on control 1 and then grab like maybe 10 zealots or whatever on control 2. And then you can hit alt 2 to delete them from control 1. Cuz alt deletes them from all other existing groups and puts them on whatever number you just pressed. So 2 would be their only group then. And then I'll put my drones on top again like I did before, and I'll put all the rest of my units on the bottom.
I think I've got it.
There you go. And then just attack me with both your armies. So you still haven't been. So if you're hitting control 1 and control 2, I can see that your zealots are staying in the main army, because whenever you move my army on the bottom, it's they're walking down a little bit as well. So try one more time, and just to walk you through the sequence one more time, it would be select all army. Or like you could green box everything if you can you actually select on me? For some reason I can't.
I can't. No, they're
okay. So it's fine. So you can just green box it and control 1 everything right now. Just green box control 1, and then you can either control click a zealot on the screen itself, or out of your control group pages on the bottom, and then have them just control left click and that's it, and then have them run out of your army. Like run south only with the zealots. Or yeah, there you go. And then now green box a chunk of them, and then hold alt and hit 2.
alt 2.
Yeah, alt 2. It's gonna feel trust me, it's gonna feel awkward as fuck at first. This is why you should practice this. Like in every ladder game you play from now on, because it's something that's so useful once you get used to it.
For some reason that takes me out of StarCraft.
Alt 2?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay. I don't know either. Okay, maybe like it's alt tabbing. All right. Okay. I'm not sure why that's happening. Okay, so here's another way you could do this. All right, actually, yeah. Did you hit the Windows key by chance, maybe?
Possibly.
Okay, so actually go do this in your options really fast. Hit F10, go to options, and then go to gameplay. Is it in gameplay? Hold on. 1 sec. Guys, where the hell is this thing? There's a disable Windows key somewhere option in here. Mouse and keyboard. Oh, I see it. Okay, so go to options in StarCraft, and then go to mouse and keyboard, and then in top right, make sure your disable Windows key is turned on.
Oh, just turned it on.
Okay, so now try it again.
Okay.
And see if you can see if it alt tabs you this time.
Well, it doesn't take me out of StarCraft, but it's not really doing anything.
Alt 2 doesn't do anything. Do you have Zealot selected right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why it's not working for you. Where is it in? Let me see where it is in hotkeys now. Is it in unit management? No, control groups is where it would be. Okay, so go to options again, and then go to hotkeys on the bottom. And under global, let me know when you're there. I don't want to go too fast.
Yeah.
Okay, so go to global, and then now in the right side where it says control groups, open that up. And then scroll it down to where it says create control group 1 and take away units. Does it say alt +1 there?
Yes.
Okay, so does it say alt 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 all the way to 0 for the rest of them below it? Okay, so it should work then. I don't know why it's not working. And then I don't know what your keyboard is, but make sure you're using the left alt and not the right alt.
I am.
Okay. Shit, I don't know. Okay, so I don't know. Maybe your keyboard's just do you know what keyboard you have?
No, sorry.
Okay, it's all good. So okay, there's multiple ways to do this. Okay, it's not like you have to do it this way.
Okay.
Here's another way. It's just easier if you do it this way. Another way you can do it is I'm gonna reset it, And now you have your whole army. Now, just double click or like control click your zealots right now and move them out of your army. And then just grab like, again, like half of them. And then hit control 2. And then you could now grab all your units and put them together and then have 2 run away.
Sorry, what do you want me to do?
So like your units all together now have the group. If you made control 2, the zealots that you just like, if you selected like 10 zealots and made control 2 on them, you would you would tell those like 10 zealots to run away now.
Okay.
Tell the rest of your zealots. I don't know why they keep following each other.
Yeah, I have 8 in a control group. I don't know why they're following each other.
Okay, tell them to go. Tell all your zealots, like green box, all of them, and tell them to go down, and then say 2, go back up again. Oh, so like what I mean by 2. Sorry, what I mean by 2 is control 2, like the group 2 you made. There you go, perfect. So it's like tell them all to go down and tell control 2 to go up. So by the way, so like with the way with control groups work, you only bind them once. So you don't like whenever you want to control like group 1, group 2, group 3, you only have to hit control 1, 2, 3 one time. It binds the units. But when you want to use them, you actually only hit 1, 2, 3. You don't actually use control or alt anymore when you want to use them. So we'll just try screw the army for now. Let's just do zealots for a second just to make sure, because I don't want this to be confusing. Because I know you've been really used to B2GM, and we didn't really talk much about control groups in B2GM until Diamond League. So just right now, this is what I want you to do. Take those zealots that are in the middle of the board right now, green box all of them, and there are currently 8 of them, and hit control 1 together. And now that you have control 1 selected, I want you to go down and left click an Archon. Just left click an Archon. And then it'll deselect your zealots and it will only click the Archon. And now I want you to hit 1 again and right click somewhere else. So no control anymore, just hit 1 right click. You see how you just control, now you're controlling the zealots. And now I want you to grab the other zealots up above that, green box them. No, so you're no longer selecting the zealots that are on 1. You now just set a new command by green boxing only the zealots on the top by themselves and hit control 2. And now I want you to hit 2 and then right click below where the zealots are on the first one, and then hit 1 and right click above where the zealots are in 2. So you're going to right click your zealots below and make them go north, and you're going to right click your zealots that are north and tell them to go south. And the way you're going to do it is you're going to go 1 right click north, 2 right click south. And it'll get you comfortable using multiple control groups. So
I don't really understand, sorry.
No, it's okay. So I want you to move the zealots in the middle up above where they are now. And then I want you to like basically have all the zealots, like imagine you're in school and like class ended and everyone's going in the hallway and everyone's passing each other. I want you to create a situation that looks like that, where all the zealots are going to be bumping into each other, walking through each other. And then they're all going to you're going to have to, now the zealots that were above are now below, and the zealots that were below are now above. So 1 right click up, 2 right click down. Perfect. Yeah, awesome. So now your zealots just reorganize themselves. Now that is what you're going to be doing a lot. You're going to be using control groups like this, and you're going to be going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, however many you want to use. I would say, generally speaking, in Diamond League, you're probably going to use 1, 2, 3 at the most control groups for units. Probably 2 though, because the way we talked about it, you're probably going to be using 2, because you're going to be using your whole army on 1, and then like the 10 zealots on 2 essentially, or the war prism. So now, what you can do now is take the zealots that are on 1, and actually your zealots on 1 are above right now. So re-swap them one more time. Have 2 go up and have 1 come down. Okay, nice. Now I want you to do this. 1, just select 1, hold shift, green box your entire blob of Archons, Immortals, and Stalkers. And now you're going to have a big command of units, and now hit control 1. Okay. And now, now what I want you to do is I want you to hit 1 A move on the bottom side of the board, and I want you to hit 2 A move on the top side of the board. And you can also do it from the mini map. So for instance, like you can do one A move on the board itself where you actually look at it if you want to, and then two A move on the mini map on the top side of the board. You can issue attack commands from the mini map too with doing this. So
Okay.
do it as fast as you can. Okay, back up, try it, and do it. Like I'm not gonna fight you. Back up and do it again. So one move back, two move back, and try again. And then you're good to go. You got your stuff on the proper spots. Try again right now. 1A move bottom, 2A move top. Perfect. That was really good. So you're going to be doing this kind of stuff a lot. And now I'm going to reset it one time, and I'm going to change our board layout, and I'm going to give you something that you have to issue a command to go through, okay? So this is going to give you mouse more like precision for like how you need to be moving your stuff around. No, not this one. Sorry. Okay, this one's really good. Okay, so now what I want you to do is I want you to take your army, set it up again the way you just did. Grab some zealots, put them on 1, grab the rest of your army, put it on 2, like the 8 zealots on 2, and then like all army on 1 or whatever. Set it up as fast as you can. So, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like all army plus some zealots, and then maybe some zealots by themselves. So it could be like 10, 12, 14, 8 zealots, however many you like. And I would say 2 could be your counterattack group, and then 1 could be your main group. And then now, are you ready? Is it all set up?
I think so.
Okay, so what I want you to do on this one is I want you to A-move your main army on that little hallway on the south, like on the low ground, essentially. That's like all the way down and to the left. So, you see where my Zergling is right here? Like the Zergling that I have like running left and right.
Yeah.
I want you. Sorry, all my units came down here. This area right here. Yeah. I want you to go to the low ground below where the Zergling is. So your whole army goes down there, and then you A-move your zealots that are just by themselves up the ramp towards my mineral line, essentially.
Okay.
Okay, and this one, all your zealots came in up again. So there might be some overlap there with some of your units.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, it's okay. Like another way to read it too. Another way to read it is look really quickly at. Do you see how you have like all your units on the bottom middle of your screen? How it has like all of them are stacked up in like 24 of them. Look right above that where it says your control groups 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many does it say on those numbers?
34.
So you have 34 on 1.
Well, 1 is 17 zealots.
Okay. What's number 2?
12 zealots.
Okay, so that's right there. That's how you can tell if your control group is messed up or not. So what you want to have is okay. So this is probably the easiest way to explain it now because this is actually going to be a visual you can actually use. I should have done this from the beginning. So I'm going to reset it. I want you to green box your entire army, and then I want you to hit control 1.
Yep.
And now what does it say for 1 for the number of the unit? It's probably going to say sentry and then units because the sentry takes priority.
You won't wait.
So
What number?
okay, so there is a thing in StarCraft 2 called unit priority, and units with spells always take priority over units without spells.
Oh.
So the graphic of the unit, is it as sentry on 1?
Sentries first.
Yeah, okay. So it's going to be like sentries on 1, but it's going to probably say a number next to it that I imagine says something like 50. Something around there, right? Or what does it say? It's above the 1. It's like the blue text above 1.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, 46.
Okay, perfect. So that right there tells you if it's proper or not. 46 is huge for Protoss. That's how many units are in that control group. Now I want you to green boxes or like double click the zealots, and then I want you to rip them out of the army, like move them out of the army, and I want you to green box just like some of them and hit control 2. And now look at your control group 2 and look above where it says 2. Once again, like you know how it says 46? What does it say in group 2 now?
13.
Okay, now hit 2 again, and try it one more time. See if it works. Hit Alt 2 once you have 2 selected. Hit Alt 2.
Oh, it says 19 now.
So do you have all your zealots selected right now?
Yes.
And you hit Alt 2, and now it says 19.
Yeah.
Okay, what does 1 say? Does it still say 46 or does it say something less?
Yeah.
It says
46.
it still says 46.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think your alt is somehow bound to like control in some way, or like the keyboard is doing that. I don't know why it's not working. Okay, so that basically the easiest way to explain this is going to be like this for you then. Okay, so I'm just trying to show you examples in a unit tester, but this is assuming all your units are already out. The easiest way you can do this for yourself would be this. Okay, when you want to set up a zealot counterattack, always select all army, hit control 1 with it, and then warp in your final zealots that you're going to counter with.
Okay.
So that way you can just easily grab the new zealots and attack with those.
Yeah.
And then it's not going to have overlapping issues of like, oh shit, they're all going together.
Yeah. Sorry for all this weirdness.
No, you're totally fine. It's I don't know what keyboard you're using. Who knows? Maybe you're using like a $5 Microsoft keyboard. It just doesn't have alt features properly. I have no idea. But essentially what's supposed to happen is this is what, let me just give you an example of what it's supposed to look like, okay? I'll use like a really simple number system to make easy sense. So let's just say in group 1, you had 50, okay? So it says group 1 has 50 units in group 1. If you were to grab 10 units out of group 1, like they're still in group 1 and you green box them and you have them selected and you were to hit alt 2, what it would say now is group 2 would have 10 and group 1 would now have 40 instead of 50. That's what's supposed to happen. It's supposed to delete them from the other group they're already in and put them in their own new group, which makes it really easy to go 1 attack, 2 attack.
Yeah.
But it's not working properly for you. so screw the command.
I don't know.
Don't. It's okay. Just don't use it anymore. It's fine. Maybe it's your keyboard, because I mean your hotkeys are right. So I don't know what's going on. It's okay. Just you can do the thing I just said instead, where you can just go select all army, control 1. But you're not maxed out yet, and now you're ready to set up your phase 1 attack or whatever, where you're ready to counterattack and also do a main attack. Warp in like 8 zealots or 10 zealots or whatever. Then just grab those, green box those by themselves, control 2, and then go 1 attack, 2 attack. So the point I'm trying to this is the biggest thing that you need to understand though. That this is like, you cannot break this or it will fall apart. Stop using select all army to attack people. You need to start breaking this habit and start getting in the habit of using 1 A move, 2 A move. You can still you can still select your army with select all army to initially bind it to a control group, but just keep in mind you cannot bind your counterattack with that. Here's another thing you can do. Okay, let me if your alt key doesn't work, let me try to teach you another way. That's also another thing you can do. So. Take your whole army, everything right now, and bind it all together again. So select green box everything and control 1 it right now.
Yep.
And now, are your archons on the first page?
Yes.
Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to hold shift and control together and then click an archon in the bottom control group area and where all the green units are. And now do all the archons disappear when you do that?
Yeah.
Okay, now hit 1 and A move right now towards my Zerg.
It just added them back in.
Okay. Interesting. Hold on. Okay, so try it. I don't. This is maybe I'm like wrong here. Try to do the exact same thing again. So green box everything again, and then hit control 1, and then it should say 46, right? And you have all 46 selected. So now do the exact same thing again. Hold shift and control, and click an archon out of the control group. And they all should disappear again, just like before.
Yep.
And now hit control 1 more time.
Okay, that worked. I'm pretty
Okay, so that could be your secret, your system too. So what you can do is you can deselect all of your. So now let's do a system that would work for zealots. Okay, so this is gonna be a little bit weirder, but because I'm gonna have you do an extra step to it. But essentially, what I just showed you with the archons is that's step 1. Okay, you're gonna do that with zealots. You're gonna shift control them all out, and then hit control 1. And this is assuming your whole army is like scattered all around your base, and you're like, okay, this is really awkward to grab some zealots, and I need to get some of them out quickly, and I don't want to shift click out 10 of them, and that's super annoying, and so on and so on and so on. Another way you can do it, there are two ways you can do this. Okay. Let's actually make a bigger map terrain here so I can give you more distance. Yeah, we'll do this one. That's fine. So here's one way you can do it. I want you to, once again, hit Control 1 on your whole army. Go to page 2 where your zealots are. And I want you to... sorry, I want you to A move. Actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Let me do this. I'm going to get rid of my army because I don't want to like attack you during this. It's going to be awkward. I'm going to also give you a little bit of a small army. And then give you that and that. Okay. So now what I want you to do... Or no. Sorry. One more time. I want to give you an army that's easy to use with one page. That's better. Okay, so what I want you to do now is grab your whole army on Control 1, A move up to the top left of like up the ramp area, and then I want you to shift click your zealots in the command group on the bottom. Like shift click the zealots, like just hold shift and left click them like 5 times. So 5 zealots, leave it, and then right click back to bottom right.
Again. I'm supposed to shift click a zealot?
Yeah, so what's gonna happen is let's do step 1 first.
Oh, well, now it's working.
Okay. So what happens with shift is it should be deselecting zealots out of your group selection.
Okay.
So if you issue a command to have all of them attack, if you say, hey, everybody attack, and you hold shift and left click your zealots, again, make sure you're not doing it in the middle of the screen, and you're doing it in the bottom middle of your selection, where like it has the stat cards of your units and stuff like that, and like the big black box. So if you shift click out like 5 zealots, it'll deselect 1. Is it taking them out of the group? And then perfect, exactly. That's exactly what I want you to do. That's what it should look like right there.
Okay.
So that's one way you can do it. And now once you shift click manually, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, if you want to do it that way, you could do it that way. And then you hit Control 1 again, and now they're, whatever's left in your army is left in your army. And now these zealots have no hotkey, and that would actually be okay because your zealots are on a suicide mission anyways. You don't even care about them. They're supposed to go kill hatcheries, and then if they die, they die. They're not going to be microed at all. They're literally A-moved. So that's one way you can do it. That's fine. Another way you can do it is this would make more sense if you have a lot of units, but I'll show you how to do it with a small amount because it'll make it easier and less complicated. So grab everything, put it in one group again. Put it all in like group 1 again. And then now what you can do, this one's going to be a little bit, it's going to have 2 steps to it, okay? So step 1 is you A move towards an area, and you shift control, you hold control and shift, and you click out the zealots, and then you go to a different area. So now all your zealots are going opposite of where you're going. So only the immortals and archons should be turning around, and then your zealots should be continuing to run to the way you go. Good job. Okay, you did it there. So that's step 1. Step 2 of this would be hitting control. You have to hit Control 1 again once you send your zealots out, because I don't know why it rebounded last time, but make sure you're hitting Control 1 after you set this up the first time. So now your control group 1 is literally just it's just archons and immortals. That's it. But while your zealots are running to go kill some shit, you green box as best you can a chunk of them, like half of them. So you can try right now. So let's actually practice just the zealot part. Put all your zealots together right now. Now move them to the different side, and while they're moving, try to green box half of them and move them off. So while moving, green box, like that was totally fine. That was fucking good. That was like also, excuse my language, sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay.
So that was good. You like, it doesn't have to be perfect. It does not have to be like exact 50-50. As long as you get a chunk, that's what you're looking for. And what you would do is when you take all your zealots out of the army and they're moving towards your opponent's base, you green box half of them and then add them back into your main army. And this could be a way you could easily send like, so if your zealots are scattered everywhere, it'd be a way you could easily be like, okay, I'm going to grab only like 15 of my zealots back in my army, and the other like 18 are going to go to the base. So I'm gonna show you an example myself really fast of what I mean, and then you'll get an idea to hopefully make more sense. So if you had a game that looked like this, all right? I'm Perdos, and I have a couple of Archons and Immortals, and then I got a ton of Zealots, all right? Let's say I got like a crazy amount of Zealots. And my Zealots are scattered everywhere like this. And I just like, I don't know where they are. They're all over my base. I've just been running over Speedlings all day. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. Like, let's just pretend like they're scattered all over like half of the map, all right? And it's like, okay, I got Zealots in my 3rd and my 4th and my 5th and my main and my natural. They're everywhere. What you could do is you could A-move towards the Zerg's base. And then, like I said before, shift control all of them out like this. And then you make only your Archons and Immortals come back, and you find some Zealots and then add some of them back in like that. And then the rest of your Zealots are just going ham on the Zerg's base right now. So, does that make sense?
Yes.
And this makes it really easy. It's a really easy way to set that up if your Zealots are scattered. Because that might happen sometimes. If like you're having to warp in, like, oh, I gotta defend Zerglings over there. Oh, I gotta defend Zerglings over here. Now I gotta defend my natural. And it's like, okay, I have Zealots scattered, and I don't know where they are. So if I just select all army and have them all A-move towards the Zerg's 4th on the left side of the map, but I really want to attack the right side of the map, I'll just find a big chunk of Zealots and add them back in my main army. And all those other little remnants of Zealots that might be like some here, some there, some here, some there. As they cross the map in little bits, you just kind of let them go do their thing. Because they're all going to meet up eventually anyways, because they all have the same attack path that they're going on. So that then you can just forget about them. They're fine. Who cares? You just want to have some of your Zealots with your main army as well, so that it's not just idle, or it's not just like a naked amount of Archons and Immortals.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'll have you do it this time. So I'll give you some Zealots, some Archons, and some Immortals. And now again, what I want you to do is just to walk you through it one more time. A-move everything, shift control out the Zealots, move back, like then control 1, just your Archons and Immortals. Move back your Archons and Immortals away from where the Zealots are going, so a nice right click away from them. Then green box half of the Zealots, and then hit shift 1, and then right click as well, like back to, like, so basically what happens is, actually, you know what? I don't know if your shift commands are working. I want to make sure those are working before I get into this, because it might not work properly. I want you to grab one Archon. Just click one Archon and hit control 1. And it should say group 1 has one Archon. Does that work properly? Yep. Okay. So now click one Zealot and hit shift 1 on that one Zealot when it's selected. And now does group 1 have 2 in it?
Yes. Okay,
so that works properly, which is perfect. So now this works for you then just fine. So what you're going to do is you're going to, again, the sequence will now go green box everything. Normally it would be select all army, but you can't do it in this game, unfortunately. I'm sorry, but it's just for now, just green box everything. A move across, shift control out Zealots, control 1, right click back. That's step 1 of the fight. So what you're doing is you're deselecting Zealots, you're binding only Archons and Immortals in an army, and you're making sure your Archons and Immortals don't run across the map. Like you're not wanting them to go where the Zealots are going. And then after that, you then green box half the Zealots, shift 1, and now you can attack with that army somewhere else. So now that has some of your Zealots mixed in with your Archon Immortal, but then there are also some Zealots that are currently on an attack path that are you're just going to let them do whatever they want. And then you grab half the Zealots, and then shift 1, and now recombine your Archons and Immortals and Zealots of the ones you just added into group 1 again. And then you could now
sorry, what do I do now?
So when so in your group 1, what is in group 1 right now for you?
I think I think everything actually.
How many numbers down?
10 Zealots.
What number does it say on group 1 for you?
28.
Okay, so yeah, that's going to be definitely a lot more than just your Archons and Immortals. Okay, so hit group 1 and say group 1, move to like the middle of the arena right now. Okay, so it's actually got all of your units on it all together, because all of them came back. So we'll do it like really, really, really slow step by step. I'll walk you through each step instead of explaining it all and then having you do all of it. So move to bottom left with everything, so it just gives you a lot of time to react. All right. Okay. And then A move the other side. Shift Control click out the zealots. And then Control 1 your Archon Immortal. So now your group 1 should only say you have like 7 units inside of it, right? And then the green box half of your zealots. So now you're no longer selecting your Archon Immortal, you're just literally green boxing zealots. Shift 1, and now 1 should probably say something like 14, or you have...
Yep,
okay.
16.
Okay, perfect. Now that's how you do it. And then the final step would be 1 A move the opposite side of the map. Because again, the goal you're trying to set up is you want the zealots that are no longer hotkeyed are going to the complete opposite side of the map of group 1. You want, like, those zealots that are now deselected are just going to be on a warpath on like the left side of the map, and group 1 is going to be on a warpath on the right side of the map. Something like that.
Is that good?
Yeah. So, try combining them all again. Like, deselect your control. Let me reset it for you. I'm actually gonna. I'll give you a new one again. So I'll give you an even bigger one this time. So this is gonna be a ridiculously large army. This will probably never happen. But this is gonna be like just a good practice example here. Try it with this one. And you might have to hit page 2 for this one, which might happen in your games for real. So whenever you're ready, just there you go. Just do it on you, just as fast as you can.
For some reason I don't know if it's something I'm doing, but for some reason the control shift won't take the zealots out, but here it is.
How old is your? Actually, I have a question for you. How old is your keyboard? Do you know? Like, is it something that's like pretty new, or is it something that you've had for a long time?
I'm pretty sure it's not that new.
Okay, so I feel like you might have keyboard, like, your keys in your keyboard might be dying, and maybe that's actually becoming like, because if it's not reliable, there's a very good chance that it's happening. Now, if you don't know if you don't know if it is or isn't, it's totally fine. But if you don't,
yeah, it might be something I'm doing. I have no idea.
If you have a non-mechanical keyboard, non-mechanical keyboards honestly are pretty not super reliable. Mechanical keyboards, however, are way more reliable about like not having these kinds of problems. If you don't have a mechanical keyboard, I would say I'm not going to tell you have to buy one, but I would say if you're ever looking to buy another keyboard, the next time you buy one, definitely look at getting a mechanical keyboard. I would highly recommend. And then, for instance, if you ever want to go to my stream and you ever type my keyboard in, I think my keyboard is really, really nice. You can just type !keyboard and it like you would just type that in my stream and it would tell you what I have. This is not a sponsor. I get nothing out of that, guys. Okay. No compensation there. But yeah, it's just mechanical keyboards are super nice. They're really, really nice. But yeah, if your keys aren't super reliable, then it kind of sucks. I don't know. That's just, it's going to be unfortunate for you. The best thing you could do then, here's, you know what? If your control key seems to be reliable, so just do this. Just do this, okay? Put everything, I'll put everything together for you. We'll just do it like this. This will probably be the easiest thing you can do of all. All right, this will make your life a little bit easier. So I'm gonna give you some zealots. I'll give you some archons and some immortals. I want you to green box some zealots right now and just tell them to run out of your army. And now I want you to green box your army that is not with those zealots and hit control 1. And green box those zealots that are by themselves and hit control 2.
Yep.
And then have 1 go down and have 2 go up. There you go. Maybe do it like that. Because your keyboard just seems like it's having some issues with the alt and shift commands and stuff like that. So this will probably be the easiest thing you can do. Where it's gonna be, you're not gonna be like, what the, like, the zealots aren't doing it this time, and they're supposed to be, because you might end up losing games because you're like, oh wait, what the hell? Why are my zealots not countering? So if you do it this way, how long did that take you to set up realistically? That took you like 3 seconds. Maybe this is just the way you'll do it for now, and then you can mess around with more commands like that later on. But if you do it like this for now, that's still totally fine. It gets the job done, and that'll be easy peasy. But just remember, the concept is really trying to make sure that you always... Now, this is now a new concept we haven't talked about yet. I'm going to explain this really fast, okay? This is really important. And don't worry, this is going to be a VOD just like last time. So if you ever want to listen to this part again,
Yep.
you always can. Timing is humongous. You will not need to worry too much about timing in Diamond 3. You will, however, need to worry about it as you grow in Diamond 2 to Diamond 1, especially in Masters. It's going to matter a lot in Masters. And what that means is your first attack, whatever gets to the Zerg's base, or whatever gets to your opponent's base first, is going to get their attention. So if you attack with both at the same time, that can make sense, but that only really makes sense logically if you're confident that you have a strong position in the game, essentially. Okay? Because the reason why that makes sense is because it'll make more sense if I explain the other alternatives. Okay, and we'll come back to that in a minute. If you are not in the advantage of the game right now, you have to be very careful about how you engage your army, because if you're at the disadvantage, if your opponent is the one with the advantage, if you just straight up attack him with your main army, there's a very good chance you're going to run in and you're going to die. Like if you think your opponent's army is scary to engage. Also, if your opponent has more bases than you, that's another moment where they might have the advantage in terms of overall stuff. And you might not want to attack with your main army first. So at that moment, it makes more sense to probably attack with your counterattack first, your little tiny force first, because what could happen then is if you attack with your little army first, you get their attention, and if they're really strong right now, they're most likely going to defend whatever attacks them first really well. And you'd much rather them defend like 10 zealots than your entire army. Because if they don't defend your entire army and they instead go over like on the other side of the map to defend 10 zealots, it opens their base up for your main army to run them over. And now suddenly, even though you're not supposed to kill their main army because they're stronger than you kill their expansion. And even if they win the fight against your main army, you whittle them down, but you also just killed their economy at the same time. And now they can't remake stuff as well as you can. And your next army might kill them. So when you're not feeling super confident, always make sure your counterattack zealots are going in first. Like if you feel like you're behind, make sure your counterattack zealots are going in first. And then make sure your main army is going in second. Because it allows your main army to get more done. Which is going to definitely do a lot more because it's a lot more damage there, a lot more units there. Now, if you're the opposite, if you're the one who is ahead, I would say make sure your main army goes in first and make sure your second little side counterattack goes in second. Okay? Because if you're confident that when you take the fight, you're most likely going to win the fight, that's great. And if you somehow misjudge that, and let's say you guys kind of just kill each other and neither one of you really kills each other, if you get them away from their expansions and you get their attention where you guys are both killing each other's units, but you're killing their economy at the same time, that's going to very likely give you an economy lead again with a way where you could once again outproduce them and, make a new army and kill them again. And with like realistic, it just increases your odds to win in these scenarios more often. And then finally, the last one I was kind of talking about that's kind of hard to explain, which is if you feel like you don't want to push with your main army first because you're like, okay, well, I don't want to lose my main army and then he'll defend my zealot counterattack after he kills my main army really easy because my main army doesn't really have any staying power here. What you can do as well is you can push with your main army. So this is the example I told you that was push with your zealots first, get his attention first, and then have your main army push second. If you actually, in this scenario, if you push with your main army first just to get his attention, and the second you see him come to defend, you immediately disengage and run away. So you drug him out of position. Then you do the other process where now you counterattack him with other zealots, and then you go back in again with your main army. You could do it that way as well. Does that make sense? I'll say it again if it doesn't make sense.
It does.
Okay. So yeah, it's just trying to maximize your attack, essentially, and that's a great way to set up fights for yourself. It'll make things that you do more reliable. It'll make it just actually have more of a chance to do damage. Mm-hmm. And then the last thing, above all else on this, which we haven't really gone over, would be actually, I think I think we went over this a little bit in our gold video a long time ago, and it goes into the same concept. And you can tell me if we did or didn't. Did we go over Skytoss transitions?
Yes, we did. Into carriers, yeah.
So that still applies very heavily in Diamond League, by the way, and
Okay.
it's like it still applies in Masters League as well. And if you find yourself breaking down your opponent and you're like, wow, I'm on 8 bases and my opponent's on 5, you could continue doing this method of attacking your opponent. This is where multitasking comes in. You attack them just like this, and you make a Skytoss transition. So every time you attack your opponent, your army gets a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller because your Skytoss army grows. And then if you're actually transitioning to Skytoss, you could continuously do a system where you disengage with your main army. You get their attention and then disengage, and then you always counterattack them with zealots behind them. And then every time you disengage, you might lose a little bit here and there, and then you also might lose zealot counterattacks, and that's when you replace with more carrier supply. And then you can also you can even rip more zealots out of your main army, and keep shrinking your main army to keep growing your Skytoss follow up. And then eventually, once you max out on Skytoss, you just A move and win the game.
Would you say it would be a good idea to, like, whenever I move out with my maxed army, to just make a Stargate?
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, 100% yes. If you have a good economy and you're banking money, it's always a good idea to start preparing a transition. These attacks though, they're so basic, but yet they're so fundamental in what you need to be able to do at high level play. And high level play, the higher level it goes, the more it's going to have you're going to mix in things like judgment calls with unit reads, like compositional reads, to know how you can mix in other micro strategies against these things that can break down your opponent. And like situational awareness on like the map itself, like maybe you want to fight on the ramp or the choke point or a cliff or whatever. Like there definitely are more advanced things you can do on top of everything else. But the easiest way to explain what I'm telling you right now is this is the fundamental basic of multi-prong and a mechanic called push and pull. And if you can master these, 100% you get Masters League. 100% Masters League. These are fundamental, like, major micro strategies that you need to use in your gameplay.
Sounds good.
So, how are you feeling about everything?
Good.
Okay, nice.
Excited to start learning the multi-prong.
Yep,
see how it works in the game.
It's and also for real, I'll emphasize this one more time because it's so good. Do not be afraid to mix in one warp prism every now and again, and make sure if you do, don't put it in your select all army, because it will be selected in your whole army if you do that. So
okay.
Try to take it out if you do that, and then have it be its own thing over on the side, and just periodically warp in zealots in their main or something, or at like a 4th base on the other side of the map, and it's so annoying to deal with for your opponent. And that right there, yeah, I can't wait to talk to you next time. And
yeah.
Here you'll be like, hey, so I'm GM now. I'm like, okay, cool.
I wish.
All right, well, yo, good luck. Thanks for doing a lesson again, and yeah, I hope it goes well for you.
Yep, thank you. This is very helpful.
All right, awesome. I'll send you the VOD by probably tomorrow, and then you'll have it. All right, take it easy. Have a good rest of your night.
You too.
All right, bye.
Goodbye.
All right, guys. That has been a lesson with Herzel. She's actually awesome. She's super chill. She's a very fast learner. And last time I coached her, she was gold. Yeah. And it was like only like a month and a half ago, or like two months ago. I think maybe like 2 months ago. It wasn't that, I don't know. Maybe my time is off, but I don't feel like it was that long ago. And she's diamond. She is crushing. And yeah, I can't wait to see if she, like, you know, where she's at next month, or the next time I talk to her. But much love. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys learned something yourselves. I will see you guys in the next lesson, or the next video, whatever that is. B2GM replay analysis. I don't know. But thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time. Until then, peace. Good luck in your games and have fun.